Hello again.
Hello.
Imagine there's some people that watch this on YouTube. I'm not sure. Sometimes we're just recording to, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. A
So,
few. You have a few views on these. Not that many, but I
oh,
pick up. If
mhm.
it's useful to somebody else, it's all it counts.
I'm
It's
making
useful
notes
to
of
me.
what we do on each session and try to reuse it or share it with the teams, at least for my project. Um, so should I just jump in and start sharing my screen, or do you want to
Sure.
share?
No, you can drive. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I wonder if you want to start doing something different today on your projects or something. No?
Yeah, we can do that. I mean, our situation at Loxe changed a little bit. And you also hinted at the possibility that we do one SWOT analysis for us. So that's one possibility that we could do. Or we can, I know you also wanted to think more in moving away from the SWOT and the PST and then towards some other
Yeah.
things. So I'm flexible. Victor, what do you want to do?
Yeah, actually, I'm flexible as well. We mentioned that we could maybe do this SWOT analysis for Loxe. I think we haven't done that yet.
Great.
What do you think?
Let's just take one and start then.
Right.
Um,
We did it the last one about a year ago.
Yeah.
So
okay, so I'm just naming this one here, if that's okay. So just under,
Lucas,
yeah,
could you send me the link to the Mario board, please?
of
I'm in a
course.
different desktop.
Yeah, I'm
And
gonna drop it in the chat right now.
thanks.
wait, are you on your Windows system? Oh no.
Just temporarily.
It's
I
okay.
only go there when I really need to. Currently, I'm always on Linux. Okay, so do you want to share some context on logs? Are we focusing on a specific product or?
Good question.
I think the company as such would be good.
Okay.
What our opportunities and strengths are. I think we are more focused than ever, but I think it's still a good idea to see the company as a whole with our ADR focus, of course. And while we have a path towards what we want to do and had pretty good verification that we're now on the right path, it is not at a point where we have product market fit, obviously, right? So I think it still makes sense to think about the company as a whole versus just a specific project. But then, of course, the strengths would still apply to individual products or services that we're planning to offer. So yeah.
You're muted, Lucas.
Thank you so much. So I'm already adding in here ADR focus and business knowledge on the strengths. To balance it out with weaknesses, maybe the fact that it's, can we say a startup? Or that's a weakness
Yeah.
and a strength in a way. Well, it's a new fund,
Yeah.
newly funded, sorry, funded or found.
Well, why is it a weakness? Can you clarify what about it is?
Well, I don't know, the fact that things are not very defined, maybe rules and capacities, goals, everything is a bit, I don't know.
The capacity, I think that is definitely
Okay.
a weakness. So I'll take that. That
Okay.
it's not clearly defined. I would push back on that.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to write still growing capacities. Establishing capacities. Maybe you should drive on this one.
Yeah.
I don't want.
Under capacities, we could break this down into different things, like technical capacity, entrepreneurship capacity, management capacity.
Does anyone want to share screen? You're literally on your own territory now, so.
You mean us sharing the screen?
Yeah, do you mean, yeah, if you want to drive and share screen, maybe I can just work on the a bit off the stage, and
yeah.
I'm going to stop sharing, and then I can revise whatever I drop in afterwards. Matthias is already in a flow state, dropping things in there.
I haven't arrived flow state just yet, but I think we're more aware of what we're good at and also not so good at. So it's a lot easier to understand. Plus, like next week is actually the LA Blockchain Summit. So I have to prepare a little bit more and be able to talk about us and what we're doing. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of investors, a lot of VCs primarily. So there's some interesting funds that I would like to talk to. Yeah, that's actually also a good resource, right? So because I saw, I think it was like 3 weeks ago or something like that, maybe 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, where you started that Google Doc with some funding opportunities. So just at the LA Blockchain Summit's website, there's a pretty expansive investor list. Let me just put that in the chat.
Okay, that would be great.
I don't know, it's like a couple of dozen, like 50 or so, probably.
You know, I'm still hesitant to try to get VC funds or something like that, because I feel like it's gonna not be so good. Sorry?
It's too early, and I think what VCs look at is the market opportunity. So, for example, I think that might be also helpful as well, right? So we have a clear idea of what we're building, and we're really in a cutting edge space in the future of work space. Yet we are all almost. So we had one really good feedback from an investor who really likes the platform, but thinks the market opportunity is not there, and that is like the weakest slide for us, like, because realistically we have no fucking idea how big the market is, right? Because it's also a new market opportunity, right?
Yeah.
But her feedback was essentially, right, she didn't look at the talent retention or talent transformation angle, right? So the asset, the capacity building, the getting actually more out of your people by enabling to do better work and continue to do so, right? She looked at it from an HR perspective, which is just like legal. It's about cost and de-risking. So there's nothing extra, right? And with that, if you think about purely cost and risk management, there's only a cost center. It does not help you. And in these type of scenarios, everything seems to be a little bit more limited. So that's from my perspective, and you obviously know that. So I'm not teaching to you. I'm just trying to explain it how I see it, and then I would like to hear your feedback on that point particularly as well, because I think that is a weakness right now. We haven't found the right angle yet to like concisely describe. Okay, this is the opportunity actually, and this is really, really great.
Yeah, because the uncertainty is everywhere in terms of, like, from your point of view, from the investor's point of view, there's just uncertainty. So I think it may be a bit of thinking, but I'm not as an experienced person in this realm, but maybe it's about finding the right investors, not just pushing to them that it's the right opportunity, to pushing the right opportunity to anyone, but finding the right risk profile in their mindset, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's you have the next meeting on Monday, right?
Yeah.
Victor?
Oh,
With
sorry.
that.
Which meeting?
Sure, name the name. Starts with F. You have insider contacts there.
Ah, Falcone. It's on Tuesday.
Yes.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's
Right.
it's on Tuesday. Yes.
Because they're very interesting in that there's a lot of overlap in how we actually, want to do things, and they're exploring this space as well, but they're huge. And that's the thing, right? About huge organizations, they're not as nimble as a startup, but I think there's a lot of overlap, right, in what they want to do, which is great. I had a phenomenal conversation this week with one of the companies that I actually met at the TechX at the Digital Transformation Week Expo, and it's really great. They reached out and said, really like what you're working. Let's continue the conversation, right? So I sought out another meeting, and in terms of traction, right? So, and this is where the risk comes in. I think we're at a point that over the next weeks and maybe months, as we're building things out for them as a customer, it's very exciting, right? And then obviously it's kind of like a design customer in a sense, right? Because we have to make some adjustments. Like we can't simply use Mediate as AI right now for them, right? It needs to be a little bit better. It needs to be more integrated so people can use it easier. And we go from there, because they already said it's like, okay, we push you to our clients as well. And their clients, you might not know the company directly, that I'm certain you don't, that we work with, unless you're in a very specific sector. But they themselves also have very exciting clients, and it's just like the people that I talk to, they get it. If when you talk about conflict transformation and talent retention, it's great. That's the type of customer we want. And to your point about investor, it's just exactly the same thing, right? We're not just looking for the money, right? We're looking for a strategic investor, because I actually think that now in this new situation, we could even bootstrap, right? And what I've been talking to you, Lucas, as well, right? Taking money is a good idea, especially if you have product market fit, right? A lot of us are always, unfortunately, in the situation, hey, we need money to survive and get there, right? So that's the difficult part. Like making it long enough until you got product market fit, until you're really on the right path, because then you're actually already good. You actually don't need to get more money, technically, because you're good at the moment. Well, but then again, of course, you also need to grow and adjust, right? The market develops. So once you have product market fit, yeah, get more money, because that allows you to hire more people, grow faster, and then you can also spin up
when you have
similar.
a valid MVP running? When
No,
you say
product market fit. Product market
just
fit
the
for
pitch?
me. No, product market fit for me is you have customers and people come knocking at the door, and you have to turn them away because you don't have the capacity to service them.
You've proven your product market
You've
fit.
proven
You're turning that into demand. Okay,
right.
great. Yeah.
Right. So that's where we're at.
Cool.
Not a product market fit, but getting there.
Okay. One thing as well that I was dropping in here, just very generic point, is well, actually two. On the threat side, I put the crypto regulatory clarity, which is uncertain a bit. But on the opportunity side, the blockchain-based companies will be in high demand. So as long as you're a blockchain-able company, even if you're, for example, have a partner that comes and says, okay, I like the tools that you already have, but we had an idea that we want to develop with you of something that's going to run on the blockchain. If you have that technical stack, that puts you in a really nice position to do synergies of two businesses, for example.
Absolutely. So the blockchain part is hugely important. The crypto part, not too sure. Like the cryptocurrency part specifically, right? That is still difficult.
I think in 5 to 10 years, people are going to refer to us and say, those guys that used to call it crypto, because it's going to be reworded to digital assets in the future.
Right.
I see more and more that trend. It's just a word.
And it already is in the enterprise space.
Yeah.
They talk about digital assets and it's fine.
Maybe I'm saying this and it's just because I'm in the first after my first bull run, and on the next bull run, the people that get burned in a way, maybe they're going to burn the term digital assets and they're going to come up with a new one for the next bull run. I don't know. It's just, but it has to do with corporate adoption as well. Blockchain, for example, is a term that I think is a bit solid. It's solid. No?
Blockchain is absolutely solid. Yeah. Once people started talking about Web3 and like Web 2.5, and I'm thinking it's
yeah.
No, we're not even doing Web 2.0, because what we're moving away from, we're still Web 1 in a sense, because we don't even have SSOs like with Google sign-in or anything like that. No, it's all in-house. You're not giving Google any data about you, right? But then, so it's like from Web 1 to Web 3, but also not really. So like the whole versioning thing is so weird. Yeah. It's a bad terminology.
I've literally done some lectures or sessions or workshops online about Web3, and I'm the type of guy that presents the read, write own type of concepts, but it's all very subjective, especially like thinking of the guy from Twitter. What's his name?
Elon Musk.
No,
he's now the guy from Twitter.
Yeah, he's now the guy from Twitter. Yeah, the guy from the block that was Square, now Block or something. He's talking about the Web5 thing and the VCs and all that. And I think from the investors' side, there's that argument that Web3 is not still fulfilled because it's not decentralized, because it's full of VC capital. But from the technical side, we do have the fact that we are still running dandelions and all those things, or block frosts and what's the name, Infura in Ethereum. So I think that's as concerning as the business question. So I'm still quite curious as to how we're going to, I think maybe on the next bull run, we're going to see the rise of decentralized file systems that you can host your site on a bit more, even more. But anyway,
I was waiting for that since Fund 3, because that was a big thing in Catalyst, and it is very, very sad.
It's technically sort of feasible to do the decentralized everything, decentralized Git, decentralized music, but then legally it's pickle, So yeah.
All right. I think we actually, so the basic SWOT, I think we captured that quite nicely. Victor, do you want to share the screen again, and then, or Lucas, and then we talk about it?
Go ahead, Victor, please.
Yeah, I just stopped sharing because I was in a meeting. It's a meeting that someone told, oh, okay, when we start talking a lot and people are just seeing the board, yeah, it's better for them to watch us talking, see our faces instead of just the board and the voices in the background. But yeah, can you see again?
Yeah,
all good. All right, Victor, what are our strengths?
I would say also very good and we are very well connected, both in the blockchain world and outside, like business world as well. We know a bunch of people, we've made a lot of connections already. Right. we were able to talk to big companies like Falcone itself and Brightfin, Netflix, Intel, etc.
Yep, that is true. That changed over the past year.
Yes.
Quite dramatically, because we didn't know anyone, just like people in Cardano.
Yes.
And the just is not a qualifier of like quality of the people, just that we only knew about Cardano people, mostly. Well, Victor knew more, but right. So we were well connected, right? We prior we already had a strong relationships to ADR specialists themselves, and then also programs, right? I think actually now we have the capacity to create more ADR specialists, right? So that's good. So if they're, as long as there are people that are not yet ADR specialists, we can turn them into ADR specialists. So that component is interesting. Competency in software engineering, blockchain development as well, right?
Yeah. Can I add one there?
Absolutely.
So that one is more technical in terms of being experienced and skilled, but
Right.
I would informally say you're not 23-year-olds. So you're a young company, but you have professional maturity and you know how to handle each other. And not, you've already mentioned the funding part and all, but the fact that you have professional maturity, I think is a really big plus.
Thank you. All right. And then, of course, the ADR focus and business knowledge, which is also connected to, having the knowledge, but then also have other people in the know as well. Cool. Sounds pretty strong.
I would add something else here, which is actually something that was a weakness and is now turning into a strength, is that we have 1 year of experience in entrepreneurship. So we did many things wrong already during the past year, and we learned with them. So we're not going to make the same mistakes again. So
okay. Does it still fall under professional maturity, or is that, I guess, battle tested?
I think what Lucas mentioned with professional maturity is that we have maturity before creating. We had maturity before creating this startup. Like you are 20 years experienced developer. I was years in the oil and gas field with my technical background as well. But now we have 1 year of entrepreneurship experience. So.
So overcame biggest challenges, or what's the sticky? Or do you want to put it there? Lucas, what are you hearing? What Victor is saying?
I'm just hearing the literal part of 1 year in entrepreneurship.
Well,
specifically
with Loxe.
I would just say an entrepreneurship experience or experienced in entrepreneurship.
Right.
Yeah.
Which doesn't capture it fully, but I think if we reduce it to Loxe, then yeah, absolutely, right? Because it's a different type of entrepreneurism. It's very different than running a small business, a mom and pop shop, or some other things that we've done in the past. Cool. All right. Should we go to, where should we go? Weaknesses?
Yep. To do the internal ones first, right?
Right. All right. So our constrained financial resources, right? They're no secret. I think at this point in time, it's primarily just putting a burden on us. But I guess the danger would be that, well, if we run out of money, we unfortunately gotta make more money just to survive as human beings, right? So that would be a bad situation, because that would limit our time on working on Loxe. So that's a little bit of a problem. But other than that, not too much really, because we're still, like I said, we're kind of like in a bootstrap phase actually right now, while still talking to, trying to find the right investor and whatnot, right? But essentially we did our proof of concept, right? And now it's like, okay, now we built the real thing for a bigger market, a bigger opportunity rather, so we can grow better. And for that, we are also still establishing capacities, right? So, I mean, it's no secret really that we had let go of our entire engineering team at this point in time. So, but of course we still have to build product, right? So, and we're building out capacities for that as well, right? So typical start, we are more than a typical startup than we've been a year before, because we actually got some funding. And I would say, like, we had bigger teams than I had managed as a CTO in previous companies, and we built a lot more, right? So that's why we're a little bit in a different situation now. And Victor, for example, is doing a lot more development than he has done in recent years, right? Learning new technologies for him as well. And I do the same, of course, constantly expanding. And so that's a weakness right now, right? Still working on that, but I think it's important to really, for us at this point in time, it's really, really important that we know everything, which is not typical. And
but sometimes it's the best way,
right.
Because if you master everything, if you really, I was just mentioning this in my previous call, when you have the ability to go from the meeting all the way to changing the code and delivering it and etc., that's it's magical, I think, because you can really meet with stakeholders in the morning and have a new version in the afternoon. There's no handovers, there's no formal. If you don't want, you don't need to document. I've always documented almost everything I do because I work from the documents. I need to structure it and then build from that document. But I think that can be a really good strength, especially because your product may not be that complex, when you really have the agility to change it. So cool. But do we want to put a sticky note there for refurbishing technical team, or?
Sure.
Yeah.
Feel free to put it on. I just remembered there are a couple more opportunities.
You would see that as an opportunity?
Yes and no, but I don't want to put it as I don't want to spin it. No, it's a weakness.
Okay.
I mean, yes, it's an opportunity for us, but I don't think it serves us to put a super positive spin on everything.
Well, but we can do that part where we come to the center quadrants and try to strategies to make use of your opportunities to minimize your weaknesses. So the opportunity around refurbishing the technical team.
Yeah, actually, before we turn this into opportunity, I was thinking about something else. That I'm not sure if it's a weakness or not. Maybe you can provide your perspective. It's that we are dealing with ADR here, and this is, from what we've seen, this is very dependent on the culture of the place we want to provide our services. For example, ADR is much more well known and accepted in the US than it is in Brazil, and I guess in Portugal it's more similar to the US, or no, to Brazil. I'm not sure.
I haven't heard of it so much. I think some people, because it also relates with the legal system in the country. So where legal systems are very slow, sometimes this starts to come by to gain awareness as an alternative. But yeah, but
So I'm not
it's
sure
very
if
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so for Portugal, for example, actually the whole EU zone, there's a lot of ADR, but that pertains more to arbitration, right? So it's the alternative dispute resolution angle and not at all the conflict transformation angle at all, even though there are
Mhm.
quite a bit of opportunities. But yeah, it's similar in that for mediation, it is not as common. It is still relatively unknown, I would say. But yeah,
Yeah.
it exists. There's
You do have the arbitrators as well, right?
yes,
You're
yes.
planning
So
or
you do yes. So and that angle is widespread in Portugal as well, because you have a lot of arbitration clauses to deburden the courts. Actually, okay, depending on who's putting that in, right? Because companies want to go to arbitration, and not only because they can win there easier, but it gets settled faster than the court, right? That's the reason of arbitration. Fast settlement, right? You are not locked in the court system for too long, and it's just easier to plan. It's in theory a win-win situation, even though of course it's not at all a win-win situation on the process side of things, right? So you have, if you talk about ADR overall, which in terms of monetary claims, that is mostly arbitration, actually, right? And for that, I think it's as similarly widespread in Portugal as it is in the US. But most people don't know about it, even though they sign all those contracts where it says, you can't sue us, or you're going to go to arbitration, right?
yeah, that's
So,
the thing. We basically see it as an alternative to legal system. And on the mediation, we see arbitration, I mean, as an alternative to legal system. But in terms of making peace with like more personal disputes and all that type of thing, I don't think we are in that level yet. Of because
yeah,
it
I
reminds
agree.
me of a psychologist friend keeps telling me that everyone should do therapy, but no one really does. Almost no one does in Portugal, and I can see mediation as a bit like relational therapy, or
Yeah,
the ignorance still search. It's just not so much here.
absolutely. Yeah, so a lot of similarities, actually.
Okay. So what are we dropping in the board? Did you put one for the culture part?
I did not.
So it could be both an
I'm sorry, I
opportunity.
was I was muted. So I didn't put it here. But I think since we want to reach out to many different countries, not just limit ourselves to the US, even though it makes sense for us to start there, I'll put this as a weakness here.
Right. So we're well connected in the US actually, and we have some connections. And I'm going to see one of our advisors, because we'll have quite a bit of need for mediators in India, which we have actually a good network there, but then also the Philippines, which we have some smaller groups there. So you have to again like use our network, right? Our graph. So it might not be at the first, but maybe at the second hop, and then also in the Ukraine actually as well. So there are some areas that we are stronger and some that we are not, even though the need is there, which is interesting because now we can potentially actually use one of our strengths because we have the capacity to actually, turn Filipinos into ADR specialists as well, for example, right? So.
Yeah. Okay.
And
No,
I just refer to, and there's two things here, right? Because one is for mediators AI, it would be a cultural challenge primarily because, people don't know that, right? So we have to push them to our platform, and we would suck at that it's not, it wouldn't be worth the effort in a sense at this point in time. But we will have actually a demand that comes from a higher place to use our services. So there's still going to be a cultural challenge in some instances, but it's a cultural challenge for the mediator to solve, right? So the cultural challenge would be in mediation, and actually not the challenge to get them to mediation in the first place, because that is actually an external factor that contributes to people showing up at the virtual mediation table. So that's quite interesting. But
so two things come to mind. The first thing is that you actually have the same dynamics as I do with the tattoo project, where I may be serving the tattoo shops or the tattoo people. So in a way, I think you often talk more of the end parties, bringing parties in. But if you mature a big database of mediators, they have their own networking to get the parties and to get the cases, I would say, right?
Yes, that is one component, certainly. But actually now we have an intermediary, with the talent retention angle, right? We are focusing on organizations, and these organizations acknowledge they have problems. They, would like to solve the communication issues. So it is actually and we have to get clarity on exactly how that will look like, right? I think there is going to be a little bit of top-down, at least suggestions or like high recommendation to say, hey, you know what? Let's go and mediate, because we need a third-party neutral that actually does not know our business that well, so we can, go to the root of the problem and understand where the disconnect in our communication is, get to our shared interests, and look for a way that benefits the organization, but then also our individual interests. And this is the process, right? So if it comes down from, let's say, a middleman, like middle management, right? Like in the same team, for example, right? Or at the director level, and you have like intra-team conflict or inter-team conflict rather. So that gets essentially passed down. It's like, hey, your numbers, whatever it is, I perceive a problem. It affects everybody else in the team. This needs to be solved as soon as possible. So here you go to mediation, right? So that's the process that it's great in a sense, because now we have the problem. We have a problem at scale if this works out, right? Because now we actually need a lot more supply than we thought we needed. So that would be a problem, right? So it flips it a little bit on the problem on the head. But for mediators AI, you would be 100% correct, right? That the cultural challenge is more a challenge of getting people to mediation in the first place. Because, like, for example, your friend might think, everybody needs therapy or everybody needs mediation, right? And whether that's true or not, and we can say, okay, yeah, absolutely, that's true, right? People don't act on that. Right, so it's an interesting different dynamic, and I think there's like nuanced challenges to solve, because culture plays still a role, even if you have to show up at a mediation table.
And also maybe a bit the funding of the mediation itself. So if in an organization there is already a budget line to keep people happy, it's a lot easier for a line manager to say, you're going to do this because we're buying it, right? So the creation
absolutely.
of that budget line is something that it's very important that we mature from commercial standpoint when we're establishing the relationship, not just say to our partner client that we are available to provide mediation, but incentivize them or motivate them to create an open budget line, like training for example.
Absolutely, right? Because it's an investment, right? Also, because it's not just solving the conflict it's also improving the communication, right? That's the transformative approach to mediation.
And also in creating your own demand in terms of parties, I was putting in a post-it there about happiness surveys in the company. So some or most companies have that type of thing. And so maybe you can connect that as a thread, as a inception for a line manager to start pushing people to this service.
Yeah, 100%. And then also there's additional components. So there's, you know, in terms of packaging that, right, from a commercial aspect, is this going to be a B2B SaaS model, right? Or is it based on seats or whatever, right? Or do you want to offer this as a benefit to your employees in a sense that not only can you, you know, do we assist you in solving your internal disputes, but, you know, in the private matters as well, right? We have a lot of mediators that particularly specialize on landlord-tenant disputes in the US, for example, right? That's just like a lot of people have these types of disputes. So that's also an interesting angle as well.
I'm going to add a post-it there as an opportunity to cross-selling between organizational parties to their personal realm, right?
Right, and that's really the opportunity is here because, you know, we are in a recession, and, you know, yeah, it's important to keep your top talent and keep them happy.
We just have 10 more minutes for the meeting, so I think it would be good if we continue to brainstorm about the opportunities and threats, and maybe next week we can try to find to fulfill the center of the SWOT table.
Sounds good. Let's move on. All right, so that's the opportunity, right? We talked about blockchain-based companies will be in high demand, increased demand for ADR in general. In organization, thank you for adding that. Get leads from happiness survey, right? It is a little bit of a blue ocean territory in some aspects of our conflict transformation service, right? And the other part is there are the underserved markets that we started with, right? Which might actually go a little bit on the back burner, a little bit for a while, but the opportunity is still there. I think, yeah, I wouldn't have anything on the opportunities side right now. I think for threats, really, it's just the crypto clarity, right? So the regulatory uncertainty actually around blockchain and crypto is what's problematic.
I meant to add, sorry, just a side note, I meant to add another one in terms of like we were trying to articulate, for example, you said we can go from professional to private life, or you could have partners with psychologists or something, where a bit as well aligning with the happiness surveys. If the psychologist in the organization starts flagging this person as, I can't fix just this one person, I need to do group therapy, maybe he can outsource that problem to ship it to you in a way.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity to work with organizational psychologists. That is Asbei. She actually reached out to one of her former professors because her undergraduate is actually in psychology. So one of her research professors, he works as a organizational psychologist in the industry. So we try to get into some doors through that as well, because like you said, right, those are the types of companies that already acknowledge there's a problem that exists, so they are more likely to utilize our service, right? And then later on, as we saturate the market of the innovative companies, or the companies that at least give a damn about the people, right, then we can move towards, okay, you're a really shitty company, you have so many problems, your turnover is like horrendous. Like every year, you know, nobody, like you don't have anyone who started a year ago, right? You need to fix this, right? But we do want to start with the ones that get it, because for them, you know, they're already a good company. We just want to make them better.
And they help you define your processes and everything a bit easier. They're not the trouble clients for you. So I also have that approach for the tattoo part. Yeah.
Any other threats? I mean, a year ago on our SWOT analysis, I remember I put like stealth competitor with bigger budget going to market faster. I'm not sure that's a threat anymore, to be honest.
Why
Yeah,
not?
I'm not sure.
Well, you know, we have, I mean, first of all, we went to market. Granted, there was more of a, okay, you know, this kind of works. And but I don't see, because there are other players in the vicinity of what we are doing. But I mean, this comes really back to framing the problem, like the market opportunity, I think, and take a good look at it and who else is there. And I honestly don't think that's an issue. Like we're making the connections, we're making the right connections, we have the right people, we have the capacity, and yeah, I don't see it as a threat. Maybe now less so, because it's essentially only not even a handful of people working at Loxe, plus advisors. But so yeah.
So I'm just adding this one here because I noticed that it says what threats do your weaknesses expose? So I went down to see the weaknesses, and coming back to the technical team being refurbished and all that, I just added this one, which goes hand in hand with the looming situation that often happens in development of the technical backlog or the technical debt. That was what I was going for. So,
right.
That
so
one's
we are
pretty
actually
safe.
so we're actually building over from scratch, because I perceived so many issues. There was too much technological debt already in the last year, so we're actually starting a lot of things from scratch.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe I can remove that one, right? Cool.
Right.
And if you allow, I'm just going to add that center one on strategies to make use of the opportunities to minimize weaknesses. And I would just put one here coming from here as I don't even know how to articulate it coming from above, but coming from the refurbished technical team, that point that we spoke about, that if you have a one man running the show, you can go from requirements to build really quickly. Is that okay?
Yeah, fast iteration. And because I had no idea why the hell we were not pushing to production every day. Our frequency was a lot slower. So yeah. Ability to move faster.
Okay.
Cool.
Can I leave it like this, or what do you think?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Looks good. Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Victor and I have another meeting to attend to in 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. So thank you for taking the time. Yeah, if we maybe next week can mature that, and then
sure,
that'd be
probably
cool.
same time if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend. Thank you for your time as well. It was really interesting.
Thank you.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.